hello. Is anybody out there? There's a couple of people out there. I got 4 here right now, and I know that more will be coming in. If you're in the room, please say hello. I'd love to see who's out there. Mary, I'm going to bring Mary out right now. We've been talking a little bit before we went live. I always enjoy those conversations, the before and after conversations. Mary, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good, John. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, and it's good to
Good.
be here with you once again. Oh, good. We got some people saying hello. Johanna and Alice, welcome to the live stream. Good to see you. And Jay Monty, good to see you again. Always nice to have you all here. And somebody from Facebook, good to see you. Good to see you. Welcome to the live stream. So today's topic is going to be about change, and it was easy for me to come up with this one, Mary. I made a decision that was a tough one to make, but I think was the right thing to do, is to bring this podcast to an end. And I thought, well, it would be a good thing to talk about is change, because it is inevitable. Things change, and sometimes we have to embrace it. Sometimes we have to take action to make it happen. So,
and sometimes we resist it for a long time.
Sometimes we do. Absolutely. Now we got some other people. It's me, Dave. Oh, Mary. Oh no, it's me, Dave. I'm sorry. Bear with me. And Jeff. Good to see y'all. Okay. So, Mary, shall we just dig into the topic?
Yeah, and I have a reading if anybody's interested, or we can just talk. You pick.
Let's do a reading and talk.
Okay. You want me to read now?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Okay.
She's going to read from what? Beyond Belief, Agnostic Musings for 12-Step Life?
Yeah. Beyond Belief, Agnostic Musings for 12-Step Life, and March 21st.
Okay.
It's on the topic of change.
Okay.
So the quote is from Alan Cohen. If anybody knows him, he's an author. And the quote is, "It takes a lot of courage to release the familiar and seemingly secure, to embrace the new.
Wow.
But there is no real security in what is no longer meaningful."
Wow, and that's very applicable.
There is more security in the adventurous and exciting, for in movement there is life, and in change there is power.
I love it. Hey, John B.
So it goes like this. "It takes courage for us as newcomers to part with the familiarity and security of our old way of life. In time, we see how we would have been doomed if we had maintained the trajectory of our old addictive ways. But we do recover and stay clean and sober. The once awkward and absurd 12-step program becomes matter of fact. Let's fast forward 5 or 25 years. Consider the apostate. In 12 and 12 terms, this could be someone who came to believe in the rooms, began praying to God, and got good results. Life improved. They shared their experience, describing how they were lost before finding their way. Years later, this same member wonders if what they believe is real or imaginary. The same turning point could be true of a staunch atheist whose search takes her or him in the opposite direction. Each of us should be able to say, I felt so sure, but now I doubt so much. Being searching and fearless doesn't have to end after a year of recovery. A spiritual journey is a continuum. The same could be said for one who once went to many meetings a week and now finds that their calling is pulling them in another direction. Change is always risky, but the alternative is to lose our vitality. We have mythology about those who stray from the pack. Certainly, many relapses occurred after we became complacent about attending meetings. Caution is called for, but it is hardly scientific to suggest that all who leave will relapse. Once Europeans thought that all who sailed west would fall off the end of the flat earth. That widely held belief lacked a few facts too. And the questions at the end are, rashness is foolish, but so is rigidity. Is fear a servant that alerts me to danger, or a master that enslaves me to stagnation? Am I as open to change as I was when I was new to recovery?
Great. Yeah. Change, obviously, I'm thinking, I experienced a lot of change all my life, but who hasn't? That's what life is. Nothing stays the same. I'm relating a lot to that, to the quote in the beginning. It takes a lot of courage to release the familiar and seemingly secure, to embrace the new, but there's no real security in what is no longer meaningful.
That's
And,
right.
I think there are times when, I just hang on to something or I have hung on to something because it was familiar and comfortable in what I knew, even though I wasn't the getting anything out of it or getting out of it what I was at one time. It wasn't as fulfilling as it was for me, but it was what I knew, so I kept doing it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep. It was hard to let go.
Yeah. Yeah. And, so that's very appropriate.
Mhm.
And I think about that with the podcast and, I wouldn't say that things got to where it just wasn't meaningful anymore, but with me, it was like I needed to let go of this, which did give me some security. It was familiar. It was something I enjoyed. It was something I loved, but I knew I needed to let it go simply because of where I am at this stage of my life. It's time to it's time to retire.
Well, it's just
Yeah,
it's just a change. You're just
it
rewiring.
is. It
Yeah.
is. And I've done this for a long time, 7.5 years,
Yeah.
and I still get a lot out of it. I
Mhm.
still learn from my guests. I still enjoy the process of it, but it is a lot of work. It takes a lot of time, and time becomes more and more precious with every day that passes. So that was it for me. And I love what it says here that in change there is power.
Yes.
So as soon as I embraced this, and it wasn't easy to do, but as soon as I embraced this idea that I'm ready for a change, I did feel empowered. I felt
Good.
like, you know what? I'm in control of my life.
Yeah.
I'm in
Good.
control of my own life.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of analogies can be drawn with to addiction from that.
Absolutely. Yep. You made a boundary and you had more freedom.
Right.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
So, most of us just put down the bottle and then we think it's going to be the most horrible life ever. And it ends up having more freedom than we did before. But we don't know that until we actually make the decision.
Yep.
Mhm.
I remember my thought process going into my first AA meeting. Okay. And you're talking about change and the biggest change, of course, is not drinking, not
Yeah.
not putting a substance in my body to change the way I felt. And I could not even imagine that.
Right.
Walking into that first meeting, though, I knew that alcohol was either going to kill me or put me in jail. I mean, there's just no, it was clear that I could not live while I drank.
Yeah.
But I figured, well, I'll just smoke pot. And I was never really a pot smoker.
I can't imagine you smoking pot. I can't.
I can't do it. It makes me paranoid. It always made me paranoid. But honestly, I thought I couldn't imagine a way of living where I didn't change my, I had to do something, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I learned in AA that no, I don't have to put stuff in my body. I don't have to use some sort of external substance to change the
Mhm.
way I feel.
Mhm.
That sometimes I need to feel.
Mhm.
And that was a big change. That was a change in the way that I lived. And it was scary for sure.
Yeah, but I think most of us hurt so bad that we were willing to get out of the car and walk into a meeting.
Oh yeah, it
Yeah.
was the pain for sure that
Yeah.
motivated me to change. And I know that it's that way for a lot of people.
A lot of people, it has to get really bad.
Sure does.
But what I've noticed is I'll be completely opposed to something and then I'll just let it sit, and I'll still be opposed, still be opposed. And it might take me a couple months, might take me a year, but then I completely change my opinion or my decision. But I said, "Oh, I'm never going to move there. I don't want to live in a tiny house." And then I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm living in a tiny house. I'm excited."
Yeah.
And it just took me a while to just osmotically get there.
Yeah.
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 So never say never. And in change, there is power. It's like fresh start. It's new. Things are new or good, I think.
Yes.
Yep.
It's time Dave says, I believe we are all capable of change. The brain is pliable, neuroplasticity, and can create new habits and strengthen them. The options are stay with the familiar or allow in change and newness. So true. So true. That's your options. Stay with what's familiar or go ahead and embrace the change and newness. And I think that even if you do stay with the Joanna is a fan of tiny houses.
I can't wait. I'll let you know.
Even if you stay with the familiar, that's bound to change. I mean, that the way you feel about whatever it was that was familiar is going to change. Nothing
Yeah,
is going to be what it was.
everything changes. And I mean, I think as personally, every new decade for me is a whole new energy to change.
Mhm.
It's just like things change whether we like it or not. We can either bend like a weeping willow or we'll break off like a giant oak. I mean, it's really up to us. You can't I mean, change, you can resist change all you want, but we're all changing biologically, and the world is changing. I mean, it's for me, it's about being aware and being open to new things,
Right.
new thought.
I'm remembering I can't remember if this is something I read to prepare for an episode or if it was what the doctor had told me herself, but she was an expert in addiction science. She's an addiction doctor. And she either said or she wrote that she gave an example of dopamine and how it impacts us and how it makes us want to do something over again. And she said it could be even something like, your family goes on a vacation somewhere to a certain place and you have a wonderful time. And every time you remember the vacation at that place, the dopamine spikes in your
Mhm,
brain. So you
mhm,
think, I need to go there again and have that same
mhm,
experience, right?
mhm, mhm.
But what happens is it's not the same experience.
No, it's not.
you know
No,
but you do that because it's the familiar and you're searching for that. You're searching, I guess, for that dopamine, and maybe you might get it, maybe you do,
maybe
but
you do. Yeah.
but I always remembered that because it's so much part of what people do and what I do. It's like, wow, I had such a great time over there, I want to do that again. Where, now I can stop and think, yes, that was a great time, but I could also have a great time exploring something else, do
Yeah.
something else. I
I
don't
think
have to do the same thing over and over and
no.
over again.
And I think once you say you're on vacation, does it really matter where you are?
That's true. That's true too. That's true too. But yeah, you don't have to do the same thing over and over and over. It's a
Right.
big world, and there's a lot of stuff to do. There's a lot of people to meet. There's a lot of ideas. There's a lot of books to read. There's a lot to
Yeah.
experience in
A lot
life.
of art, there's a lot of art to make.
A lot of
There's a
art to
lot of
make.
music to listen to, a lot of movies
Yes.
to watch.
Yes, there
Yeah,
is.
and a lot of podcasts to listen to.
Podcasts to listen to. It's time to listen.
Yeah.
There's a time for talking and there's a time for listening. This is my time to listen for a
Yes,
little while.
absolutely, time to listen. Yeah,
Yeah.
to rewire and get inspired.
Yeah.
Yeah, not retire.
Nope.
No, you
So
just
I'm going to open up the phones. If anybody out there has had to grapple with change here recently, please give us a call or type in your comments in the live chat. I'd love to know what you've been eh, dealing grappling with as far as change goes. And Jay Monty wants a new podcast. Any recommendations? I'll
oh,
put some out. We'll do I think that Mary and I will do our final live stream next week. And that will be Mary's first anniversary of doing a live stream. So she's done
yeah,
it
I
for a
think
whole year.
yeah, it'll be a year for me. I don't
Well,
know
that's
if it's
great.
end of February or the beginning of March, but something like that. Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah.
So we'll maybe I'll come up with some suggestions for you then. And also when I'll do a final episode that I'll post sometime in March, and I'll put some links to some podcasts that I think are particularly good. But the secular AA organization has a podcast, where they stream I guess different meetings and things like that. And there's some great YouTube channels on here of people who are secular and have, more modern ideas of recovery, and are smarter and better looking than me. So
Oh,
they,
yeah, but they don't have your voice. They don't have your
I
voice.
and I've recommended some of those to people that I know, and so I'll do that here too as well. I just can't think of anything off the top of my head, Jay, but I will. If either of you are going to be doing anything else, how do I find out? Well, we can let you know here, Mary. Anytime you want to, if you're going to do a project and you want to let people know, we can make an announcement here. This
Okay.
YouTube channel isn't going to go anyplace. Same here. And I'm still going to be on Facebook. I'm not leaving entirely from the world. Just so I'll be around. So yeah, if I do decide to do anything else, I'll let you know, Alice. Absolutely, I
Yeah,
will.
me too. Me too.
Yeah.
I mean, if I did a podcast again, it would be on a weeknight.
Yeah.
It would be a weeknight, and I would, you know, uh, I'm thinking. I'm
Good.
thinking. Yeah, I'm
So you've
thinking.
enjoyed this.
Yes, I have enjoyed this, but I was totally afraid in the beginning, and I thought
Yeah.
I hated myself for saying yes. It took me a while, but I really enjoy, I just enjoy being present and
Yes.
talking to you and talking to people and
Yep.
talking about recovery, and I mean, I have grown so much in this year
That's
from doing this
amazing. I'm
podcast.
so happy to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I read something this week that said, like, how are you gonna be polished if you're never, like, uh, uh, injured, sort of? Like, it's like a stone in the river. It
Right.
gets polished from the river, and it's really rough prior to that. So this was my rough time, and now I
Mm.
feel like I've been polished in a way.
You have. I knew that you would be perfect for it. You have such a nice personality. You're so open and so gentle and so kind and so smart. And I just knew that you would be perfect. And people have commented about how you make this thing work, and you do.
I don't know.
You've been a wonderful, wonderful co-host. So it's been
Well,
nice. And
I've had fun. I really have enjoyed it, and I've grown as a person, and I really appreciate you for that, and all of y'all that listen. Yeah.
podcasting, especially podcasting about recovery, I think is a very rewarding experience. You do learn a lot. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn from other people. Um, I my mind has opened tremendously since I've been doing this because of
Yeah.
all I've learned from the people who have come on here. And when you listen to somebody's story for something like this, that those stories are in my mind, in my heart. I mean,
Yeah.
they have never left me,
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah.
better than any speaker meeting I've ever been to, honestly.
Agreed. Agreed. Yes.
Yeah.
I've been totally moved by the people that
Yeah.
have been here. Yes. And all they're doing is being their authentic selves.
Mhm.
That's all they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's often awesome to be sober and to
Yes, it
be
is.
present and also to do stuff that you're afraid to do and not let fear keep you rigid.
That's right.
Like the quote said, there's flexibility in giving boundaries, and rigidity is not flexible. And sometimes we just hang on. And so I just took a leap forward and said, what the hell? I'll make an ass of myself. And then, if we'll see what happens. And it just, it helps me every time I do something that I feel is courageous. It helps me not let fear control me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, same. I was thinking, I it's change is scary. There's a lot of there is fear involved with it. But again, you think it through, you talk to people, in my case, I talked to my wife. Um, I got great feedback from people in Facebook. But anyway, I guess I'm trying to say is that getting support for whatever change you want to make
Yeah.
helps a lot.
Oh, definitely. Definitely run it by someone.
Yeah. It
Yeah. And then
definitely means a
yeah,
lot.
you hear it in different ways. But if you know, if you feel like that's osmotically what you need to do, you just have to go there.
That's right. Here's some comments coming in. Bobbert, I needed to move from an apartment I lived in for 30 years in an
Wow.
upscale Chicago neighborhood. I bet that was nice. To a
Mhm.
family suburban home. At times it's been a struggle. I bet it would. I'm kind of a city person myself. But I also like the country.
But the suburbs are different. Yeah.
Yeah, they are, aren't they?
I'm in the suburbs now, and I am getting out of here. I'm
Are
just getting
you?
out. Yeah, I'm getting out.
Yeah, I get lost in the suburbs when I go out there. I love the city because it's on a grid. I can find things
Yeah.
pretty easy out
Mhm.
there. All the streets are winding around. Everything's so far apart, and uh, I don't know. Jeff says recently left my traditional AA group to explore other paths, and that was a scary change. Absolutely, I went
Yeah,
through
it is.
that.
Agreed.
But approaching recovery, like my addiction, same thing. Expecting different results wasn't working.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What was your experience with that, Mary, when you made that change
Oh
from going
God.
from traditional?
Well, at first I was afraid before I left because I was like, I need AA. I can't go without it. But what
Mhm.
am I going to do? Like,
Mhm.
I've cut the umbilical cord from the whole traditional religious community. Now what am I going to do? But I realized I know what AA is, and I'm just going to have to start a meeting. And then I had already found the secular community, and I just said, I'm going to get a coffee pot and another person to go with me, and we're going to have a meeting. And I just did it. And then, I had no idea that there would be that many people now in my community that really appreciate that change that I made.
Yes.
That change I
Yes.
made apparently has a domino effect. So you never know when you're moving in a different way that you feel you need to go, how it will affect other people for the better. You never know. Just go for it, I say.
And it's interesting. I think that your experience was like mine. Did it make you more involved and active and
Yes.
appreciative of AA?
Oh, God, absolutely. Well, I loved it anyway. I believed in it. I knew
Yes.
it was about love and inclusion and diversity. And the
Right.
way that it was being expressed, I knew was not right for me at all.
Mhm,
So I
mhm.
was just going to stand for what I believed in. And I really needed a meeting.
Yeah.
It was like, where am I going to go? Well, I'm going to create where I need to go. I'm going to
Yeah.
just make it happen. And I just stuck with
Yep.
it day at a
Yep.
time. Yeah.
Same here. My story was I was kind of slowly realizing I was an atheist, and I was like initially like scared, like, oh my God, what am I going to do with AA now? Am
Right.
I going to be accepted or not? But I had no problem whatsoever, no problem interpreting this AA
Yeah.
experience in a secular way. It was total. I was
Right.
completely comfortable with it, and other people that I met online have helped me with that.
Mm-hmm.
But gosh, when I was expressing that new way of thinking and relating about my experience at my traditional group, and it wasn't accepted,
Right.
that hurt.
That
And
hurt real bad.
I'm not saying everybody was not accepting, but enough were not accepting that I wasn't comfortable there anymore.
I felt the same. I was
Yeah,
heartbroken. I was
it was.
heartbroken, shocked,
Shocked.
pissed off, and just disappointed.
People that you've known for years, decades,
Years and decades. They were my friends before AA.
Isn't
And
that something?
a lot of those people I've never seen again.
Same.
They've never
Yeah.
called. They've never come to a secular meeting. It's
Yep.
weird. Totally weird, but
A
that's
long
fine.
time ago, I heard Joe C. I heard or read a lot of the stuff about with Joe. I read something he posted or something, but he said that in AA, and this is probably true with any recovery program, but you get kind of a false sense of intimacy. I guess you feel more intimate with these people than you
Yes.
really are. You get to know them very well because we speak from the heart of our experiences that we've had, and we share with each other, and you feel very connected. But often we find that you leave the rooms and the people are gone.
Yeah. Yes, which is I agree with you on that. And I always call people if I don't see them at a meeting.
Yeah.
Or encourage people to to say, call so-and-so.
Yeah.
I do personally. That's just the way I was raised in AA to do that, because
It's a good thing to do.
and I know people that have not come to the meeting anymore and no one even noticed.
I know.
Yeah.
And I find that so sad.
I agree.
In a way, I understand that. I think that making a call is good. Just make one call. If the person doesn't want to hear from you, fine.
Or I text.
Or text. Yes, they
Yeah.
have things going. And
Yeah.
you might find they're doing great and they're happy and they're moving on with their life or whatever. Or they might be having a hard time. Either
Or they might be
way.
doubly hurt that no one noticed that they were even gone.
Exactly.
Mhm. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I remember early on, there was this attitude that you've got to want recovery and you can't go chasing after people to get them into the room or whatever. And I think that the assumption always was that if you didn't see anybody, they must have relapsed.
Yeah.
And if they want to,
If they want what we have, get your ass in here.
exactly.
Yeah. Mhm.
But no, we don't know what's going on with them. They
You
might.
don't know. Right.
How many people just stop going to meetings because they're happy and they want to move on?
Right.
And you can still be friends with them.
Right. Or
I
they're
don't
worried
know.
they're worried about the backlash to come in.
They're worried
and
about
it
the
takes a lot
backlash.
of pride swallowing to say
It does. If you did have a
yeah.
drink and it is really hard to come
You
back.
got to come back and get a white chip. It is hard.
And if
Yeah.
somebody just reaches out to you and says, "Hey, it's okay. Come on
Yeah.
in."
Absolutely.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Fred. Oh wow, I will miss this. Thank you, John and Mary. The live stream has been a blessing to me.
Aw.
Thank you, Fred. When I posted this on Facebook, I got so many nice comments from people.
Mhm.
It was just heartwarming, and I just thank you all for what you had to say. You know, I'll always look back on this experience with some pride and knowing that, I did something that made a difference. I
You
did something
did.
that was meaningful
Absolutely made a difference to all of
and
us. Yeah.
grateful that I was able to do that. And of course, it's everybody here that's made that possible. Okay, now we got a call from Richmond, Virginia. I know who it's going to be. It's going to be Fred. Let's see what he's up to. I'm sure it's Fred. How are you?
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Great to sit. Great to hear your comments today.
Ah, thank you.
And I'm older than both of you. I think so. And I tell you what, it's the first 100 years that are the most difficult.
The first 100 years.
That's good to know. I have something to look forward to.
The first 100 years are the most difficult. After that, it's easy.
Yes, I would imagine so.
Well, I just got to tell you, we all have our days, and then do the best you can with whatever you can do. That's all I can say, because if you stand sober and you're helping somebody else, you got it made.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people can't stay sober, and if you think it's about a new house or your own self-seeking abilities, it's not what keeps you sober. It's not retirement. It's not a vacation. It's none of those things.
Right.
It's actually your commitment to your own sobriety.
Yeah.
And like you said, John, you've been doing this 7 years. I've been your friend for a good while. I remember when you had Angela as your co-host. And I think, Mary, you've done a fantastic job filling in.
I had big shoes to fill, big shoes.
I got to tell you, they say if you can walk a mile in someone else's moccasins, then you know what it's like. But, you have to go further than that sometime if you really want to escape the egoism, develop your own spiritual idea of who you are, what you want, what your needs are, how they need to be met, and how to be happy. So, the pursuit of happiness is a God-given right, freedom in our country. Thank goodness for that.
Yes.
But if it's not, it's fleeting, because happiness never is always there.
Well, Fred,
you can listen to the Buddhists, and they say, "Oh, I'm so happy, I'm content," all this kind of stuff.
Right.
Well, how do they know they're happy? How do they know they're happy if they never knew sorrow?
Fred,
Right?
I want to
So,
thank you for calling in, and for calling in all these years that you have that we've been doing this live stream. It's been a pleasure and an honor to be speaking with you, and I appreciate everything that you had to say today as well. So thank you so much.
I wish your endeavors be prosperous and happy, and that your future good works, just are less demanding.
Yeah.
Thanks, Fred.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So nice to hear from Fred.
I'm going to miss hearing Fred's Virginia accent. He says sober, staying sober. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a great accent. Always nice to hear from him. He's always got some nice comments.
Yeah, I like Fred.
It helps the conversation, and he's a familiar character on our live streams.
Yes,
Has
he
been for
is.
some time. So, yes, thank you, Fred, for that comment.
Soba.
Yeah. Oh boy. Okay, so we got some more comments I want to go through real quick, Mary.
Okay.
Jaymani says, Les Brown says that the person doesn't live here anymore. I don't know what that is. I don't know. I sometimes I click on a comment without actually having any understanding of of the context. But anyway, so anyway, thank you for your example and being able to tag along. Joanna mentions that the collecting the white chips definitely isn't fun. Yeah, I don't even know. Quite frankly, I wouldn't. If someone came to me and they said, I'm afraid to go back to the meetings. I don't want to have to tell everybody I relapsed, and said, well, don't tell them then. Just go to the
you don't
meeting.
have to. Yeah.
You don't have. There's no
You
law
don't
that
have
says
to
you have to pick up
explain
a white.
anything to
No,
anybody.
you
No.
don't.
Yeah,
It's
but
one
don't,
day. It's one day at a
right.
time.
But don't cut off your nose to spite your face and let your
Right.
pride keep you from coming back.
And I'm a big believer in start where you're at. So if you're at a point right now where you're not comfortable telling somebody that you drank, then don't tell anybody that you drank, but go to your meetings and don't
Yeah.
drink today, you
Don't
know?
drink today and
And
talk
maybe,
to another alcoholic. Just
yes,
talk.
and maybe
Yeah.
next week or next month or next year, you'll be comfortable to talk about that experience. But
Right.
don't sweat it. Just go to your meeting, be sober today. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Alice says it's the same as support groups. They work and people move on. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I quit getting chips. It is disharmony to one day at a time. Yeah, I kind of picked up on that as a newcomer. I think I've told this story before, but I loved the anniversary meetings at our group. I used to love them because I loved the feeling of, I don't know, there was a warm feeling in the room that everybody was happy for the person who was celebrating, and they would talk about their memories of that person, to go around the room and share.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always thought that was nice. And one time I mentioned to an old timer, I said, I don't think that the anniversary should be just from how long you haven't drank, but it should just be for how long it's been that you've been coming to these meetings, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Oh, no, that would be good." And maybe he's right. But in a way, it'd be like celebrating somebody that, you know what, you've been working at this for 12 years. Who cares how long it's, I don't know.
Yeah.
Might
But
be
also
encouraging.
it kept me sober. The chips kept me sober for a long time.
There is something to be said for that too. I mean, once I think there's a place for being proud of what you've done.
Mhm.
And I think that sometimes the chip would represent that. It was like, this is an accomplishment.
Well, it was a goal. I think
It was a goal and it's
it
an
was a goal.
accomplishment. Yes. And that sense of pride helped me, and it made me feel good. I used to always carry those chips around with me in my pocket. Always had one in my pocket all the time, especially if I was going to be going somewhere, but I always had one with me. And I don't know, it's kind of like it made me feel good. So
yeah. Someone gave me their chip. I was at a meeting in California, and I don't know what anniversary it was, 16 years maybe. And he gave me his chip. And I still remember that it was such a heartfelt gift from him. And it was so special. And it was just a little poker chip, but he gave me his, and it just was so heartwarming for me. So they are what the story is in the meaning we give to them.
Right.
Yeah, but they did keep me sober for a long time until they didn't.
Yes. So Fred, yes, the YouTube channel will stay up. It will be there for as long as YouTube exists. It's not going anywhere. That's easy.
Yeah.
The podcast episodes will be out there as well, available wherever you find them now. They will still be there to listen to for
forever and ever. We can watch
forever and
ourselves
ever.
being goofy on video.
Yep.
Yeah.
And every episode is also posted here on YouTube. So the material will always be here for future generations. So yeah, it'll be here.
Yeah. And then if y'all think of any kind of podcast suggestions that you would like to hear or see, come next week and put them out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So Jay Monty, if you walk a mile in someone else's moccasins, make sure you walk fast. Okay. Oh, here we go. Les Brown, when people engage him about the past, especially bad experiences, or trying to rope him in at the same level of dynamics it was in the past. Okay. Anyway. Oh man, so many good comments here. I'm proud of every chip I've ever picked up. And I think that it's good to be proud, including all the white chips. I still have every one of them. I used to have a bunch of my annual chips. I think I still got some around here somewhere. The time in AA can't be negated, sober or not. I'm not the same person prior to entering the program, way of living and growing. Yeah, I really believe that recovery is a process of change, and you're moving in the right direction as long as you're in recovery. And if you
Yeah.
drink, just pick up your butt and keep moving on,
Keep moving
and
on.
you're still
Yeah.
making progress. It's fine. So yeah, we had an episode once before, Mary, about, and I love
Relapse.
I
Yeah.
love what you said. It's like, don't make too big of a deal out of it. But again, it's not the same, right? What'd you say, Mary? It's not the same recovery. It's a you're on a new path now, right?
Yeah.
It's not that you've lost anything,
No.
right? But it's
Right.
different now.
It's different now. And I know
It's
a lot of people
changed.
that say they're trying to get back to the sobriety they had
That's what you
before
said.
they
You
drank.
can't. You can't.
You can't. This is a new day.
That's right. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's change in itself, isn't it?
Yes.
Embracing that.
Yeah. Like
My sobriety is different now.
It's different because I'm different. And what have I learned from the relapse? The thing I always want to do is like a map on how did it start? Like show me part A, B, C, and D, and then what happened.
Right.
So you can learn what happened. So you try not to do it again.
Yep.
Yeah. I like to, go back and dissect everything.
Yeah.
To just see what the warning signs were, or what the living situations were, or what, the feedback you were getting was, or what you were thinking, so that you can see how you got there. And then you can see where you are, but don't make such a big deal about it. And nobody that has continuous sobriety without getting a white chip knows any more than you do.
That's right.
Yeah. We're more successful at it a day at a time, but it doesn't mean that they're wiser or whatever than you are.
No. And if somebody acts like they are, then beware of that person.
Yeah. Run after the meeting, because they'll tell you what they think. Yeah.
That was a really good episode. We got a lot of good feedback on that one. People really liked it. It's not a topic that's discussed that often, and I thought I thought that our discussion was really, really good, and also the comments that we got from others that were participating in the live stream.
Yeah. Well, because a lot of places people don't even want to talk about relapse. Like whenever I've done that in traditional groups around here, they're like, well, relapse doesn't have to be a part of your recovery. So they don't even want you to talk about it. So they think you're giving someone permission to relapse. But I think you can't really change or heal unless you talk about it personally.
Yeah. It's maybe people are afraid of it, but no, it's
not a part of everybody's recovery, but it's a part of a lot of people's recovery.
It is. I've heard many, many stories of people who have shared about their relapses, what they learned from it, and how they moved on from it. And those are very constructive stories, because it's pretty common. You're not saying that everyone has to have it.
But we could probably go to Joe for those stats. He probably has data on that. We could ask him what percentage of people that come in relapse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Bree says, first step, I'm taking a lot of them now upon hearing this news of the podcast demise. Damn. We've never collected on those t-shirts. First step. Yeah. I'm sorry about the t-shirt thing, but just never was able to get that done. That's another nice thing I have to say. I've gotten some support from listeners financially, and on Patreon, and even here on YouTube, the way that it's set up is that in order to encourage people to support your podcast financially, you need to give them something a little bit extra, right? You need to give them like an extra episode or access or something. And I was never really able to do that, but people supported me anyway. And I really appreciate that, because it was just enough time to do this, to let alone say, oh, now I got to do something extra. No, so thank you for supporting. Those of you who supported this podcast, I really am grateful. It helped a lot. And it meant a lot. So thank you so very much. And yes, Bree, we will be giving podcast suggestions coming. I guess we'll do that next week.
Yeah, next week. If you have any idea about a kind of podcast you'd like to hear, or a podcast that you really like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good ones out there. And this YouTube is fantastic. There are YouTube channels, people in recovery on YouTube that don't do audio podcasts. There's so much great stuff available. And so just, check it out, do a search on YouTube for recovery. You'll be amazed at what you find.
Oh, good. I don't usually do that. I go to the Apple, podcast site. I'll have to do the YouTube one.
I like YouTube. I'll sometimes just spend more time than I should just searching for things on YouTube, listening to music, watching some silly video or something. So Fred wants to know what our plans are. Mary, what are your plans?
Well, that's a good question. I'm going to have free noon on Saturdays for now.
Mhm.
I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, I'm working and I'm moving, so
Yes.
I'm packing a lot, and I can't wait for spring and summer to be in my new place on the water. I'm excited.
Sounds like it's gonna be
So
nice.
that for me is all new, and it's a small space, so I'm getting rid of everything I've carried around for a very
Mhm.
long time. So I'm going to be light and be in a new spot and be seeing the tides come in and out every day and get in my kayak. And it's going to be a fresh start with a lot less stuff. And I'm really looking forward to that.
That sounds so nice, Mary. That sounds
It
really
does.
nice.
Sounds great. I'm farming out all my stuff to lots of people.
Good
So
for
it's
you.
they're all benefiting from all the stuff I'm getting rid of.
I have
It's
another
fun.
caller here from
Oh, wow.
Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. Let's see who this is.
I know who this is.
You know who it is?
Uh-huh.
Hello.
Hi, John. Hi, Mary. It's Tyler here
Hi,
from
Tyler.
Canada.
Good to hear from you.
hey.
How you doing?
I'm doing great, and like most Saturday afternoons, I'm down in the bottom of my boat working on things, getting it ready for the spring. But I really, really wanted to call in because I did see the post on Facebook earlier this week, and I've been thinking about that for the rest of the week, and I wanted to reach out and just really tell you how important your podcast and your work has been in my own recovery, and beyond that in other people around me through the group that we put together. Really with so much help from just all the material and all the people that you brought together on the podcast, and really opening our eyes to a wider world of recovery. And it's really benefited me and the people around me. So
well said.
I do have I'm a little sad to hear that it's going away, but this topic of change, I'm also thinking, it's great that people are able to move on, because I've been able to do that as well, and
Yes.
I'm coming up now within a couple of weeks on 4 years since my last drink.
Congratulations.
And
Awesome.
life is completely different, and
Mhm.
there's been so much change. I'm a couple of weeks past my 9th anniversary of my first AA meeting, so there was a lot of change in that
Yes.
first 5 years of
Yeah.
coming and going, and we've talked about that before. But I don't fear change anymore, and I'm not fearing the change that this podcast is going away, and I can still send people to your
That's right.
past episodes and benefit from those. Yeah, and I guess one really specific thing that I picked up on when I was listening earlier, I always like to have a little specific story about the one day at a time thing that got brought up a few minutes ago during the live here. Strange. I was just talking to some detox clients actually on Thursday night. I volunteer monthly to go down to our local detox to talk to them about my experience in AA. And we talked about that one day at a time thing. And, that was very, very difficult for me. And I was very skeptical of it. And a lot of some of the clients there at the detox are very skeptical that they could live just one day at a time and be alcohol or drug free. And, I said, yeah, I was skeptical of it as well. So what I focused on was a slightly different thing, just do the next right thing. And often doing the next right thing for me meant embracing change, for one thing. But it also meant if I had to live one day at a time today, I would do that and stay sober. But if I had to plan for the future, like I'm down on my boat right now, planning for what's going to happen in a couple of months when I'm out on the waves, I have to do the next right thing to fix something here or to set something up. And really, when I get overwhelmed with change or when I get overwhelmed with just life in general, I really credit AA with giving me that idea of just to back up and do the next right thing. And, that's got me out of some scrapes where I might have drank. And it's got me to progress through life. It's got me to be a good father again. It's got me to be a good employee. It's really, really benefited me. And it's not something that I'm skeptical of. It's something that I embrace and I use on a daily basis. So anyway, that's my little 2 cents on an AA topic here for today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So much
again,
for calling.
I really appreciate all you guys have done and all you're still doing right now. And I'm really glad to get a chance to tell you that face to face, as it were, here on the line. So
and
thank you again very much.
Nice to hear from you again. So nice to hear from you too. Take care and enjoy your boating. Yeah,
thank you very much and enjoy.
I'll enjoy just not doing anything.
Yes. Well, it's a well-deserved break.
Yeah.
So thank you again and have a great show.
A well-deserved break. Well-deserved.
So Tyler is take care, Tyler. So I used to there was a time I would do these weekly listener meetings for a little while, and I didn't have a lot of people participating, but Tyler was one who did, and for every week for a while, it would be him and I talking, and he would be calling in from his boat. So I would be watching him on Zoom, sitting in his boat, and he'd tell me all about boating and his experiences, and it was just so fascinating. And it was always so nice to talk to him and to learn about what he does and learn about him and how he got involved with a secular AA meeting. And it's just that was the beauty of this experience, was meeting people like Tyler and on all the hundreds and hundreds of other people that I've met that I would not have met otherwise. So what a great opportunity. In answer to Fred's question about what I might be doing, and I posted this on Facebook, but I just plan on spending a little bit more time with my wife, and we're going to be doing some traveling, and I hope to retire in a couple of years, and we plan on seeing the world. Our first trip will be in April. We're going to go to the Netherlands. And I'm very excited about that. I grew up, didn't really grow up there, but I spent a good part of my childhood there, my elementary school years, I guess, in the Netherlands. And I am so looking forward to walking the streets of the places that I lived and just having these memories, my childhood memories, and seeing these places associated with my childhood. So I'm really looking forward to that. And, when I was making this decision, a lot of it had to do with time that I have left and how I want to spend it. And looking at retiring from my job and what my wife is doing right now with her parents and her family as they're getting older, and the help and the support she needs. And when I was talking to her about bringing this thing to an end, she was really excited. So so what am I planning on doing? I'm planning on spending more time with her and doing things with her that I haven't been doing. How many Saturdays have I had to say, I'm sorry, I can't do this. I got an interview or blah, blah, blah.
Not until after 1:00. Yeah.
Yep. So not anymore. So that's my plan, is just to kind of enjoy being sober and exploring the world and spending some time helping my wife out as best as I can.
And being inspired.
Yeah. So that's what my idea is. Then we have Jay says that William Schauberg has a podcast. I did not know that, but he's the author of Writing the Big Book. I have still not read that book because it's this big.
It is. I still have not read it either. I have not.
Maybe I'll have the time to read it now. I know it's a really
there
big
you go.
book.
Yeah. I didn't know he had a podcast. Thank you for telling me.
I did not either. We'll put the link into it. Missy, my life has changed immensely because I found Beyond Belief Sobriety. Thank you, John and Mary. You've done a beautiful job with this live stream. Thank you so much. And it's been so nice having you here with us too. Yeah. So nice. So nice. Netherlands.
Well, the way I look at, we'll create a vacuum and there will be a need for it. And someone will step up to the plate.
Someone will.
And it'll be in a new form.
Yep. Yeah. There are, what I'm encouraged by too is if you do go searching in YouTube for just recovery,
Right.
addiction recovery,
Okay.
you'll be surprised how much of it is secular
Uh-huh.
from a new generation of people who didn't grow up with the dogma of traditional stuff,
Right. Agreed. Mhm.
and there's a lot of good stuff out there. There's a lot of people that are um, talking about recovery who aren't associated with any particular group or organization or anything, but they're just sharing their experience, or
Yeah.
they're doctors or whatever. There's all kinds of great information out there. And that would be true for podcasts as well. I'll
Mhm.
do some research on that exactly too. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there, and it'll be easy for someone to step in and fill this
Yeah.
niche.
I listened to
Um,
one this week called The Recovery Show, and it's an Al-Anon, two Al-Anon people. She's in Australia and he's in the States, and they just talk. And I listened to it when I drove last week to Charleston, and it was great. And I sent that to my cousin who's new in Al-Anon. So, just two people talking. It just takes willingness and, get over your fear and just see what happens.
isn't that nice? The feeling that you get, just listening to a couple of people talking, it's
Absolutely. Yeah, I love it.
I do too. I don't actually listen to as many podcasts now as I used to, and maybe I will start listening to more now. But I always love that experience of just feeling like I was part of the conversation with these people and just
Exactly.
enjoying their laugh and it is a really
Yeah.
neat experience.
And they're
There's a
just
special
talking
connection.
like regular people, and you're
Talking
the
like
third
regular
person
people.
that's with them. Yeah.
Yep,
It's helped
absolutely.
me not be so critical of myself on this podcast, which I am usually. But when I hear other people, I'm like, they're just saying regular stuff. They're not,
Yeah,
quoting
yeah,
Shakespeare. They're just talking about recovery. And I'm listening to it and I love it. So then it helps me feel better.
yeah.
Yeah.
Totally agree, Missy. Sad. This is Annie. Grateful to have found this
Oh,
place. Yeah, certain amount of sadness does go with any kind of change for sure. I mean,
yeah.
if you're gonna be moving on from something that you're familiar with and that
There's-
you've
yeah.
loved,
Agreed.
sometimes you do. Sometimes you just have to because there's something else out there that you need to
Right.
experience
You have
that
like an
you.
organic need to change.
Yep,
And
you
you got to
really really
go with
do.
your natural instincts, your
Yep,
intuition, your gut, and your heart.
yep.
Yep.
But there's always a tinge of sadness.
Yeah.
There's always a tinge of sadness. But I don't. Maybe it's a nostalgia. Eventually, you just become. You look back on it with a sense of, wow, that was a special time.
Yes.
That was a special time in my life, and it's a sweet memory. You
Yes.
know, yeah,
Absolutely.
and boy, to have that, is a gift. To have that.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, because you were present and you suited up and showed up.
yeah,
Yeah.
inspired by others to do that.
Yeah.
So I think we've done a pretty good job talking about change, and thank you everybody for participating. So next week we'll do our last stream, Mary, and I guess we can figure out what we'll do.
Yeah.
Maybe
We'll
just take a
think
take a
about it.
look back at the year
Oh,
of live streams that you've had with us, and maybe I can talk about some of my experiences doing this, and we'll
and
we'll we'll make sure that we'll talk about some other podcasts that are out there that people can listen to, and some other
yeah.
YouTube channels they can check out. That'd be fun.
And then all of when Angela was here, all of her podcasts are on there too, on the
Yes.
YouTube channel. Yeah.
Everything,
If you haven't
everything,
heard John and Angela, you need to check it out because they are fabulous.
every
Fabulous.
single thing that has been produced from this podcast, every podcast episode and more are on this YouTube channel and it will always be here.
Yeah.
So,
So it's
yeah,
not going anywhere.
absolutely. A
Yeah.
lot of great, and and new people are finding it all the time. So it'll be interesting, even if I don't put any new material out on this channel, new people will be finding it and join
Yeah.
and subscribing to it because um they there's still a need
There's still a need.
for
Agreed.
people to
100%.
learn that that it is possible to have a secular path.
There is a secular way to do recovery
There certainly is,
that
and
works. Yep.
people need to know that. And I still hear from people saying, "Wow, thank you. You've opened my mind to a new way of thinking about my recovery. I know I can still go to AA and not have to
And change.
change my belief
Yeah.
system."
You can be true to yourself.
Hmm.
Yep.
So it's good that people can, um, yeah, have that. And Bobbert says he can go back to meetings.
Well, they're always there.
Yeah. This was kind of a meeting,
Yeah, it does feel like a meeting.
yeah. I would say that this live stream and the podcast and all that stuff has been like the just enormous part of my recovery. I mean, goodness gracious, how much I've grown doing
Yeah, and
this.
how much you've helped others grow from just
Yeah.
being that sort of that beacon in the darkness. For me, it was every Friday night. That's where I was during COVID.
That was always fun.
Y'all
Yeah,
helped me get
during the
through
COVID
that.
days.
Yeah.
What do we call it? We called it sober distancing.
That's a good way to put it.
All right, everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and play our outro music, and we'll wrap this one up. It was so nice to be with you. It was so nice to hear from you, and we'll be back again next week for our final live stream. And until
Yeah.
then, you all take care.
We'll
And be
see y'all
well.
next week.
Bye bye.